There are a plethora of tools in the toolbox to sell, and I don't think that they're manipulative at all. I think they're actually very straightforward and obvious, but people don't think to do it, and salespeople often don't even push for the sale because they think they're being pushy, but it is in fact what the client or prospect wants.
If you have successfully established that you know what the heck you're talking about, and you have made it clear that you have listened to them enough to understand their problem, and you have illustrated a solution and why it is right for them, well, you've now put yourself in a place where like you are trusted, you're clearly knowledgeable, and so whatever that recommendation is has teeth. You made people buy warranties, didn't you?
I don't think there's anything wrong with buying a warranty.
You're like, I don't think there's anything wrong with selling anybody warranties, not on electronics. I did it all the time at Best Buy.
Well, think about it. Back then, a TV was like... Welcome back to another episode of the Who Cares Podcast.
The podcast for business leaders and operators who do care.
I'm Jay O'Brien.
I'm Jeff Jackel.
So maybe you can help everyone understand when and why you got a job at Chase Bank.
It looks like you're going to love this, because I could just say it looks like you're sitting at a table having a meeting with your financial planner. But I was going to say it looks like you're like some sort of successful musician. Like you got nothing but the black t-shirt and like the tattoos all over the place, and I'm all buttoned up, and this isn't French blue, but it's
like, I don't know, bro. Like,
I don't even care. I'm just here because
money isn't real. It just feels like it is.
I'm just here because my manager told me I had to be. Champagne Boulevard album drops next month.
I wish. I'm going to a concert in LA, which is weird because I hate going to LA.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a very, very, very big deal. Very big deal.
Maybe we should play a little bit of Poison the Well right now. Maybe
oh my God. If we can get a little Poison the Well clip, maybe a little Botula. So I'm excited about that. Why? What's going on with you other than trying to invest people's money with that shirt on?
I don't even know where this came from. I don't want to talk about my closet again. I don't want to talk about how many clothing. I don't want to talk about it. But I went in today and I was like, it's a little cold, but not too cold. I had a little V-neck and I'm like, I need something warmer. And I just have dozens and dozens and dozens of button-down shirts that I never wear. And I was like, wow, maybe I'll look my age today.
Okay.
But I was trying to wear it like relaxed. Do I look like, do guys wear these shirts and they don't look like financial advisors? Do I?
No. Okay. So you could either look like you just got hired at Chase, which is what you look like, or when you do a little roll up like that and a little more relaxed, a little more confident, a little slouchy.
Kennedy? You going to say Kennedy?
No, I was going to say just some wealthy guy gallivanting in the south of France sipping Aperol spritzes. You could pull that off.
By the way, wifey, you notice that I just refrained from the F-bomb? My wife messaged right before this because she and my son are listening to Who Cares podcast while they wait for my daughter to get out of school.
4 listeners.
Yeah, minimum. And her text said, Wilder, my 6-year-old, almost 6-year-old, loves listening to you and Uncle Jay on the Who Cared podcast, but you guys got to watch the F-bombs.
No promises.
Yeah, no problems. So I just said, heck. Okay, I did it.
Okay, so I figured today we could switch things up a little bit. We're always talking about client care and appreciation and doing things for people and whatnot. And ultimately, that's going to yield referrals. It's going to yield more top of funnel.
It's not why we do it.
No, but I mean, that's an inevitable byproduct. But
yep.
I figured for the folks listening to this who are running a business, obviously referrals and retention, that's all a piece of it. But they're also doing marketing. They have all kinds of outbound efforts for net new business. And how do you close that? Are there any tips and tricks to closing deals? As tagliney and clickbaity as we can get that. But
tips and tricks?
Yeah. But just
I don't have any moves. What are you kidding me?
I do 3 things.
I do 3 things.
Okay, so there are a plethora of tools in the toolbox to sell. And I don't think that they're manipulative at all. I think they're actually very straightforward and obvious, but people don't think to do it, and salespeople often don't even push for the sale because they think they're being pushy, but it is in fact what the client or prospect wants. And I'll give examples of all this.
Well, I was going to say, if anything pertains specifically or does not pertain to a certain type of business, like in person might be different than, or like the medium that you're speaking with somebody on, or whether it's a referral or whether it's totally cold.
But that's kind of the point. It's not like industry specific or this, that. It's human to human. It's understanding who the person is, what they value, demonstrating that value and selling it. In general, when someone is looking or even on the hook for a phone call, there's hope that you have the solution to their problem in some regard, right? It's not like a completely ice cold thing. You hope that this person's going to solve a problem you have, and you hope that there's going to be enough value there and more value than what you're willing to pay for. And that would make you feel good as a consumer.
Right. So that they might have some sort of proprietary knowledge of how to solve the problem. That's literally what
No, that's not it.
Okay. So then everybody has the solution.
So the point is, if you're selling something, there's a few traps that salespeople get caught up in.
Okay.
The first is being an order taker. And what an order taker is they're constantly just listening to what the client has to say and saying, yes, we can do that. No, we can't. Here's how much it is. Here's how you can buy it, whatever. There's absolutely zero value there. Did we talk about that piece on a prior podcast?
We talked about, there's one that's loosely named be the leader, lead in the sale, or lead, not necessarily in the sale, but lead with your clients, basically.
Yeah, same sentiment. I think I gave the Microsoft example of buying shares. Did I not?
You did, yes. If you call a bunch of advisors and you say, I'm going to buy Microsoft, the fourth one who says, no, why would you want to do that?
Yeah. They demonstrate their authority, and they're at least causing a little bit of friction to demonstrate that they're the trustworthy, knowledgeable person.
You instantly think they might have some proprietary knowledge
which is important. So not just being an order taker, no value there.
Okay, so then the opposite of don't
be the leader. Have convictions in your recommendations. Now, in order to have convictions in your recommendations, you need to ask questions. So most salespeople I know fail at the discovery piece, or they jump to the solution way too soon.
So there's a bunch of stats on this. We could probably throw something up. But the idea that like now there's software that's going to listen to every single one of your calls, and you know that if the other person, the prospect, is speaking more than 50% of the time, there's whatever percentage more likelihood that this will result in a sale for this very reason.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know what the numbers are exactly, but I know that you're trying to do.
That's why you're not closing any deals.
100%. I talk too much.
God.
100%. You want to do the discovery piece, and then you want to like let them talk and kind of realize if they don't have the problem that you exist to solve. What you're selling, like it is kind of manipulative if you try to sell them something they don't need, right? So like,
no, you're just wasting everyone's time at that point.
So kind of like if you're explaining the problem and you're explaining a bit of the solution, get that if they start talking, they will figure out and they will let you know whether this is or is not right for them.
Yes. So let me give you an example of what bad looks like. So let's just use client as an example. I'm talking to you, a prospect, and you learn about...
I'm a financial advisor.
You're a financial advisor. You find out, oh my God, Client Giant's got this FINRA compliant solution. They'll send surprise gifts to my clients every quarter, and they have this like cool built-in engagement center and like gifting log and all this stuff. My friends told me about it. I want it, right?
Now that was selling.
Selling without selling. So we start having this conversation. You're like, I heard about you. I'm interested in learning more or whatever. You're like, we currently do like holiday gifts, or we use this company where we plug in this email address and they get pinged and they get to redeem a gift, and we really like that. Oh, no, we're different. Here's how. You've jumped way too soon.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know, like, that's awesome. Why do you do that?
Yeah.
How is it currently working? How many people do you do it for? Why is it only at the holidays? What does it currently cost you? Are you measuring any results from that? Like, the more data I'm gathering, the more it's going to help me understand what makes you tick, but also going to have some sort of compelling offer for you that's like based on facts I've learned from you, versus just blindly saying, yeah, but we're like that, but we don't do it like that. Like,
and what we do is way better.
Yeah, we do it differently. We're not like that. And so many salespeople and businesses jump right to that, especially if you're talking about a competitor. They're like, yeah, the reason we're different is this. You're jumping way too fast. Like, first need to understand everything about why it is you do that. I mean, for all I know, like, maybe that experience is something you prefer. I don't know why, but like maybe it is. Maybe there's actually a reason behind it, and I would need to know that through my discovery.
And that's okay to ask. Like I've asked people, and what do you love about that? And when they're talking about somebody that is a competitor that would be potentially a reason why they wouldn't work with us, I'll say, what do you love about that?
Tell me what do you love about it? What do you hate about it?
Yeah.
If anything. I mean,
in our specific example, to learn what they care about. So when you ask the question of what specific results are you seeing any kind of ROI from that? We immediately learn whether somebody, if they do any kind of gifting or any kind of thoughtful things for clients, we immediately learn what their motivator is. And now the way that you approach the whole rest of the conversation is entirely different based on knowing that motivation.
Yes, correct. And this is obviously for our solution, but for anything, right? It could be any product, any service. Most salespeople miss the mark on failing to continue with the discovery, jumping to the solution way too fast. And
which almost makes you feel like you can have maybe a set of discovery questions that you intend to ask or that are maybe like must-haves, but you should almost force yourself to continue down that path and have more discovery questions based on whatever they've said. Because a lot of times you'll hear people when they are trying to be good at discovery, you hear a salesperson that's trying to let the other person talk, but it's very formulaic. So they're getting the same questions out and getting similar answers each time versus I took an improv class in college. I found myself saying this to our sales team a couple weeks ago.
If you say yes and, I'm going to just turn off the microphone and walk away.
Why? Yes and is like a whole, no? Okay. But the whole idea, forget yes and, but receiving whatever it is, like the acting is reacting. And it's not that sales is acting, but it kind of is in a lot of ways, only in this dialogue way where you're basically taking what they said and whatever your next question is should be entirely different. It should be based on whatever they said versus scripted information gathering almost never works.
Right. So an example of that would be you tell me with your Chase shirt on that you only do holiday gifts for your clients and you love it. You send them a Christmas wreath every year.
Yeah.
The non-improv way to respond to that would be, yeah, see, we don't really believe in that, and here's why, but I'm creating like this gnarly barrier friction. Now we're kind of competing. There's a defensive thing, as opposed to the yes and, which would be like, that's so great that you're already doing something. That's awesome that you've already put time and effort into stoking people out at the holidays and learning more about it. And the more you feel safe to tell me why it is you choose a wreath and how much you spend on them or whatever, the more I can understand your motivation to what you care about.
Yes. Well, what I want to illustrate is what you give as the antithesis of like jumping on and be like, well, here's why that's not that great and here's why we're better. That's like the F student. But I bet a lot of people out there that are in sales or that have these kinds of conversations, they're like a C student. So while they're not jumping on whatever, me saying, oh, well, I do Christmas wreaths and I do everything for the holidays, I do Christmas wreaths. They're not an F student jumping on it being like, well, here's why we're better and shutting the whole thing down. They actually have a scripted prospecting or info gathering. Why am I losing this word?
I don't know, but I was a C student and that's so messed up.
What's the word that is completely coming out of my brain? This whole section of a sales call.
Discovery.
The whole discovery process. They probably have a scripted thing. So instead of, they're not going to say, well, that's bad and here's why that's bad. They're going to say, they're not going to say
Christmas wreath? Check. What about Halloween?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or what else do you send for? Or whatever. Like they're going
What is the dollar amount of that item?
Like basically, I guess you could say follow whatever path the person gives you in discovery until a natural conclusion. So like if I say I do the holiday things, oh, why have you guys chosen to celebrate specifically Christmas or holidays? How are people reacting to those wreaths? Do you get a lot of phone calls back from, like, literally take that as far as it'll go and then move on to whatever your next one is. What about birthdays, right? But keeping on that track to learn what they like about it, what they don't like. If you didn't learn why they like or dislike whatever they're currently doing as a solution, there's no point in asking the question.
Yes, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Now, lots of people are not as open, prospects, that is, to just disclose all this information. So there's an art to this, and there are nuances in the discovery phase.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like you're about to make fun of how much rapport I build in the beginning of a phone call.
Well, basically, the whole, like, if they're talking 50% or more thing, I mean, this is making perfect sense, because when I hear you on the other side of that wall, it's like a goddamn monologue that's going on for 60 minutes on a 30-minute call.
That's not fair.
Okay, so the nuance is you can't, it's not an interrogation. You can't make this person feel like they're being interviewed. You're like, what do you guys do right now for client gifting? You're like, the hell? I don't need to tell you what the hell I do for client gifting. Like, you're coming at me hot. Why do you do that? Like, there's a way to do this. So one of the ways I like to do that is offer up safe solutions that they can grab onto.
Give an example of that.
So I'd say, did you guys do any client gifting, like maybe during the holidays or birthdays, or do you guys kind of just maybe do like a client appreciation event?
You're leading.
I'm leading. I'm kind of giving you a couple things that are safe to say, or we don't do anything. There's always an out. Do you guys focus on this, or do you kind of not really worry about that? Oh, we kind of don't really worry about it. You know, like, because now I've given them permission to say they don't do it.
Well, you're also making them probably realize that there's a problem.
Sure. But I'm not making them feel like they're under attack, you know?
Yes. And do it softly.
Yeah. So everything is like, is it this or is it this? And then they're like, oh, I feel like I can talk to this person. And the more information I can gather, the better. And to your point, maybe I gather all kinds of information that they're like, we have a budget of $10 a year, and like each client is worth a net $100 to us each year. I go, there's not a fit here. Yeah. Like, thank you for your time.
We're not right for you. You're not right for us.
Right.
Yeah.
But the information gathering part is so critically important that if you just come in hot, that's wrong. You just come in with a solution, that's wrong. You really have to have that balanced nuance of understanding exactly what is motivating this person, what they're currently doing, what's the baseline today, how is it working? Like, why are we on this call?
Yeah.
And only then, when you have all that information, can you even begin to start to put together a recommendation. And that recommendation now will have teeth because you listen to what they have to say. If someone just comes to me with a solution, like, I got the best thing for your business, which I get 10 emails like that a day, I'm like, you don't know anything about my business.
Yeah. You don't know where we're currently at, what's going on. How could you possibly have a solution without knowing the problem?
Right.
Yeah. The other thing is like having empathy. And I guess you could probably relate this to dating too. But like when you are asking those questions, you're doing it softly and you're giving them an out. You're actually kind of giving them, in that example, you're giving them two negative things. Because if they say we do holiday gifting, or we do this, or we do nothing, either way, I do have a solution for you, right? Like, they don't know that's what's coming. But I think you also have to have the empathy and understand like an order of your questions that is proper. So like if the first thing out of your mouth or somebody is, okay, now exactly how much revenue did you do last year?
You're right.
You're like, yeah. whoa, like buy me a drink first, you know, right. Like that's literally what it is. So you kind of like ease into those questions that are a little bit more sensitive. Start with something really easy, and only if you know that I'm going to be okay with it.
Dating's so easy. You just ask them a bunch of questions and you have to listen to what they say and shit.
You say you don't have to listen to what they say and shit?
No, you have to. Don't you remember that line from American Pie? He's like, yeah, and then you got to ask them a bunch of questions and listen to what they have to say and shit.
Chris Klein?
Yeah.
It's so good.
God, the movie was a classic. So after the discovery has concluded, to your point, you're getting enough information. We're like, okay. And by the way, if you don't have a full grasp as to what someone's business is, learn it on the call.
You mean the ins and outs of their industry to start with?
Yeah. Like, I mean, if they're like, oh yeah, we're like this proprietary information machine that resells to VAR channels across the global, and you're like, huh? Well, we do this thing called top of mind. But asking those questions for clarity is actually appreciated. You don't look like an idiot, even though you might feel like one. We're like, God, I really should have known what this person just said, but it just went right over my head. Pause. Like, and really ask. They'll really appreciate that.
Yeah.
If you're like, hold on. So if I have this right, your customer is actually the engineer. No. Our customer is the third party. Oh, like, get into it where you're like, got it. I now understand. Do not move forward until you do understand.
Well, and it's important to establish that you're doing this for the right reason, right? Like we kind of have to put out there that people shouldn't be trying to sell something if it's not right for the person, because that is manipulative, right? So like if you didn't understand these things, you actually don't know whether you're giving them something that's going to help them. So it doesn't do anybody any good unless you do ask those questions and understand it completely. Because you can't give a proper recommendation.
For sure. I mean, there's tons of products and services out there that you could argue are for everyone, you know, like whether they're AirPods or Athletic Greens or whatever. Like, yeah, I don't really care what you do. This is why you should get this thing, you know? And it's like, whatever it is, whether it's for them or not for them, if you're going to tie the value into what's going to fill like the gap or solve the pain point in their life, you have to fully understand the ins and outs of their day to day. What is the thing that makes them tick, and what is the thing that they're doing? So anyway, asking the discovery questions are key, but also understanding who is this person's customer, like what's the motivation for any of this, like really truly understanding it. And then also being realistic about what it's going to take. It's not that this isn't appropriate for every single offering, but like, okay, there's what is your problem. Here's how we can either possibly solve it. But then realistically, okay, so you're going to implement this thing that we sell. Like asking real operational questions about how this is going to work in your business, I think you need to go there as well. Who's going to actually be utilizing this or doing it? Sure. Who is it going to affect? What's the day-to-day? And actually talk to them so that they can picture it in their daily operations, in their daily life. All going back to the solid recommendation. It's got to come from all those things. So as we touched on a previous episode, it's your job to be the leader and they are the follower. They want a leader. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I buy something, I want that person leading me. If I'm leading them, I feel very uncomfortable. Like, I mean, this assumes that they even got you on the phone in the first place. Right. But if someone's like, so I'll give you this example. Like Ash and I were in Italy on our honeymoon 3 years ago, and we were bopping around Ravello and didn't have a reservation anywhere. Couldn't get in anywhere. Everywhere slammed. It's like peak rush hour. We finally go into this like mom and pop place. They were also packed. And the guy who sees us just immediately like pulls us out of the crowd. I mean, like he just saw us. He was probably 20 feet away, but he saw us just like looking everywhere for someone to come help us. And he's just like, you two, just two of you? Okay, just come here. And it sits us down at a 6-person table. Like he's just like, whatever, I'm just going to sit you down. You just need to like sit and stop waiting, whatever. Like, okay, great. So he was like in this huge rush, and he's like, okay, what do you guys want to eat? And like Ash is like, oh, do you have this like, you know, pasta limone? Like maybe then he's like, we don't have that. And he's like it's not on the menu or whatever. But she was saying like, I like chicken, I like pasta limone, I like this. And he goes, you will have the blah, 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 da, da, da with chicken and this, and you will have, and we will make the lemon thing for you. And we're like, okay. And then he's like, what kind of wine do you want? I was like, I think we'll do this. And like, obviously I'm pointing to, this was years ago when I didn't really know much about wine, but I just knew I like red wine. I like it really kind of inside of this price point, whatever. And so he goes, no, you will have this one. and so he just like straight up was like, I'm pointing at one and he points at a different one. Nope, you will have this one. And before I knew it, all of these dishes were ordered. I have a picture of this. Maybe we can get it up in the thing. But like the whole 6-person table was filled with dishes that basically this guy ordered for us. Sure. And it was the best dinner of the whole trip. Like in that moment, he was the leader. And I felt like, this is great. I don't have to drive this. I don't have to figure it out. Like I don't need to ask recommendations. You're just going to do the whole thing. And you know enough information to make the recommendations, you know? Yes. You got to be the right kind of person for that, because another person would be like, yeah, he saw my watch and then he just fed me $500 worth of shit on my table and I had to pay for it. Well, he hasn't seen a shark watch in decades, so he was blown away. So anyway, that's the lady will have the linguine with clam sauce. But my point is, as a consumer, for me, that's helpful. That's very helpful. Yeah. Like whether I'm buying a car, or whatever, they're like, yeah, you probably don't want this one. You want this one. Here's why. If you go this one, great. No CarPlay in that one. Oh, okay. You didn't make me ask you a million questions or find out later or go do the research on my own. You just said, here's the one you're going to drive and here's why, you know? I'm not going to say proprietary knowledge again, but basically, if you have successfully established that you know what the heck you're talking about and you have made it clear that you have listened to them enough to understand their problem and you have illustrated a solution and why it is right for them, well, you've now put yourself in a place where like you are trusted, you're clearly knowledgeable, and so whatever that recommendation is has teeth. Yes. Now this guy, he was wearing a uniform, so so were you. The server.
That's your best one yet. But the server, I mean, he just took control of the situation. You trusted him because he's works there.
Man in uniform.
A man in uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Santa Claus.
So the recommendation piece, key, because it's all based on the information. Now, assumptive closing.
Oh, God, your favorite thing in the world.
If every bit of information I've grabbed from you up to this point aligns with my recommendation, it is an assumptive close. You're not going to hear me ask, would you like to move forward? Or how many people would you like to take care of? Those are all super weak questions. Instead, I'm going to say, all right, so you said there's 500 employees in your organization. You currently are doing this. It would mean a lot if you were doing this. Your budget is this. We're going to start with this, and it's going to start next week. I'm sending you this. I need you to fill this out. I'm leading it, and I'm assuming the sale. It's up to you to pump the brakes and be like, I don't know if 500 is the right starting point. I think 250. And then that's going to go into a whole other bit of discovery. 250. Okay, why are we doing 250 and what happens with the other 250? And now we're back in the discovery. That's going to lead me right back into my recommendation.
Full circle.
Full circle. That's a Pennywise album.
Why don't you give the example of your assumptive close at the when you were at Best Buy with the magazine things? Because it's very physical, but like somebody could picture it happening.
Okay, yeah, let me try and describe this. So when I applied to work at Best Buy in 2003, I was 17 years old and said, you should hire me for a sales position because I'm a really good salesperson. And they're like, have you ever sold anything in your life? I was like, no, but I can. And they're like, not good enough. So they made me a cashier, and they're like, if you think you're good at selling, here's what you have to do. When people are checking out, you need to upsell them on a magazine subscription to either Sports Illustrated or Entertainment Weekly when they are ready to leave. And if you can do that, we'll talk. So
what a weird thing to think about today, that Best Buy is selling magazine subscriptions to Entertainment Weekly.
So the way it worked was the offer was 8 issues risk-free.
Okay.
8 issues risk-free, meaning you can get 8 issues of this. You swipe your credit card today, and if you don't cancel, on the 9th one, you're getting charged for the whole kit and caboodle of the subscription.
The previous 8, or just to continue?
And to continue. The previous 8 and to continue.
Okay.
So,
you're like, I sold the shit. I'm not in field the phone calls 9 months later.
Yeah. So no, what you would do, again, you start by illustrating the value. Hey, you get 8 free issues of Sports Illustrated or Entertainment Weekly. Which one do you want? That's the assumptive close. Not
this
do
is how
you want
do it.
one.
This is not how anyone else did it.
Right. Which one do you want? Now, in the process, there are these little brochures that you would scan that would trigger the subscription. Now, every other cashier I saw had these buried in their kiosk under their cash register and would have to go fishing for one if anyone ever said yes. I put that whole stack on top of the counter, and as I was asking the question, I would grab one, flip it over to the barcode, grab my scanner gun, and go to scan the barcode.
Which one do you want?
Which one do you want? So the muscle memory was, it's A or B. Which is your choice? Now, speaking of pumping the brakes, it's up to them to pump the brakes and be like, I don't want one, right?
Would you even push beyond that? Because enough people would convert just by you doing that. But if they said, I don't want one, would you even push?
They usually wouldn't say, I don't want one. They would ask a clarifying question. So
when do I get charged? Nothing's free.
Like, wait, so I have to pick one, or like, how does it work, or, whatever. And then you'd explain the details of it or whatever, and you're going to get through the details throughout that closing process anyway. So you're telling them how it works and whatever. Mm-hmm. But the further down the path you go, the less likely they are to claw out of it,
Yeah.
So,
which is why now there's like such long lead funnel pages everywhere. So they're committed.
The goal was to get 1 an hour. I was getting 100 a day. I got promoted in 3 weeks. And I ended up working at Best Buy for over 8 years.
Wearing?
Not as a cashier.
But wait, you sold cell phones.
Yeah, it sells cell phones.
But wearing a uniform.
Sure, yeah. The uniform changed a lot, but yeah. But anyway, that's one example of assumptive selling. Another one of leading with recommendations and assumptive closing. Another Best Buy example. You'd have people that would sell back then. It's like a digital camera, so you'd be like, you'd come in with your shirt on like that, and you'd be like,
I'm the manager now.
And you'd be like, hey, I'm looking for a digital camera. I'm like, oh, what are you looking to do with it? And you're like, take pictures. And
well, no, but you are doing that's a form of discovery. You're finding out whether I actually want to be a pro photographer. Or whether I just
that's all. That's all part of it.
Shoot pictures of spring break with my friends.
Little point and shoot.
Waterproof. What's going on?
Totally. So we're going through all that, whatever. So you'd say, we'd be asking questions about this camera, like how many megapixels? 10. What's the zoom? 5x. What's the battery life? An hour. And we go back and forth. And eventually I'd kind of just stare at you, not me, but a bad salesperson, until you said, okay, I think I'll take it. Like, great. And that's how a lot of sales take place, even here, is just by dumb luck.
Were they on commission?
No. Okay. You've answered enough questions. The person happens to see enough value. They are the drivers, the customer, to buy it themselves.
Yep.
A good salesperson would be answering the questions, following up with other questions, and then leading to the recommendation. So eventually it would go, okay, I'd say, 10 megapixels, 5x optical zoom, 1 hour battery life. Does this meet everything that you're looking for? Yes.
So you would ask that question. In this case, you're asking.
I'm not asking if they want to buy it.
Does this meet all the X? Okay, so basically you've got me now pinned to yes, it does.
Yeah. So I'm going to say, okay, great. I would say things like, okay, great. I'm not asking you if you want to buy it. I'm grabbing the box and I'm saying you're also going to need a case. And I'm grabbing the case. And you're also going to need an extra battery because this one will die. And also the memory card that comes with it's only going to fit 10 pictures. So you need to fit more than that. And before you know it, there's 6 things in your cart and your $300 camera is $600.
How often would you have somebody call you on assuming that I want to buy the thing just because I said...
Remember, it's up to you to pump the brakes.
Sure. But how often would that happen? As a percentage of you?
It happens. Like maybe they're legitimately not ready to buy a camera. They were just curious. Sure, that happens, But if you do that sort of practice every single time, not only are you converting at a much higher rate, but all of these accessories and everything I'm bundling on, how many times did someone say, I don't need a case? It happens, but there's still 5 things in your cart instead of 6 now. Whereas there would have only been 1 before,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, do you want a case? Do you want a memory card?
You're saying you're going to need a memory card.
Because you're going to say, no. You don't know what you want or what you don't want. I need to deliver value and say, you're going to need this and here's why.
Yeah.
More to the recommendation based on the discovery questions.
Yeah. I think the only thing people would be worried about, that's why I'm asking about how often it came up that somebody would like really pump it or whatever. The only thing somebody would be worried about or would ever be trepidatious to be that assumptive is if frequently somebody was like, don't tell me what I want. Don't tell me what I need.
Well, remember,
I got 10 memory cards at home. I got one in my pocket, Steph.
Yeah. So if they pump the brakes, great. But I know I'm maximizing my sale with every single person every single time.
Yeah.
As opposed to erring on the other side of like, I wonder if they'll tell me they are interested in memory cards.
You made people buy warranties, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to apologize right now for Jay O'Brien and all of you out there who have...
I don't think there's anything wrong with buying a warranty, personally.
You don't buy warranties now.
Depends on what it is.
Television. No chance.
Pretty much no electronics whatsoever because it doesn't pencil. But back then it did.
You're like, I don't think there's anything wrong with selling anybody warranties. Not on electronics. I did it all the time at Best Buy.
Well, think about it. Back then a TV was like $5,000.
That's true.
Now you're like, I'll put a TV in my car, and throw it away if it doesn't work.
Just on the daily.
It doesn't matter.
Someone on the side of the road. You'd like a TV?
So what else we got? I mean, those are kind of some things that maybe,
Those are the principles. We should flash them up here. I think there's 4, right, in a row. We should flash them up. Actually, maybe there's not even 4. Thorough comprehensive discovery. Establish.
Make asking questions a safe place.
Yes.
Give outs.
Establish yourself as the knowledgeable, the leader. Take the lead in the sale. Do not let the person lead. Make a solid recommendation based on everything that you've heard and learned. I also love throwing a little, and here's why in there. Give an example. I'm going to make a recommendation. Here's what you should do, and here's why.
Here's how I think you should get started. You should do blah, 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 and here's why.
Yeah.
And they go, oh.
And if that here's why can call back to one of the things that they expressly said to you and actually use their own words as to why.
Exactly.
Even better.
And here's why. Yeah. And you're not asking close-ended questions of, would you like to buy this? How many people do you like to get started with? Are you ready to move forward? Nothing like that. Instead, I'm saying, okay, great. So let's do this. I'm going to do blah, 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 blah. I'm going to send you this reservation link. You're going to click here. We're moving this thing along. It's up to you to tell me no.
Basically, it's in your head. You've just decided this person has made the decision. You're acting as though they have said, I'm ready to buy in your head. And then what would happen next? You say, basically what you're telling them is, okay, here's what's going to happen next.
Yes, because remember, up to this point, we're in agreement on everything. Mm-hmm. And if we're not, we're back to discovery.
Yes.
So if we're in agreement on everything, I don't need to ask you if you're on board and want to buy. It is assumptive.
Now, is this dependent on the size or scale of the decision? Like in certain industries, would you operate the same way helping someone buy a house? Huge investment. Do you like this?
That's an interesting question. Although I was a residential real estate agent for a long time, I didn't sell houses. That sounds weird, but like, you're never selling a house. Like, I was always selling someone on why they should trust me in a relationship to represent them, almost like an attorney.
It's because the decision making on what's right for them is so personal, and it's such a huge decision, or what?
Yeah, never once, whether I was listing a house or showing. I mean, you were a client of mine, but
I was buying.
Still, you're not like, look how great this house is. Like, you should consider it because of these reasons. Like, you know what you want, and I'm never gonna persuade you on that, right? Like, now maybe if your concern was actually not that important, like if you're like, I absolutely love the house, I just hate the paint color, then I'd be like, hey, like, don't even think about that. Or if you saw the inspection report and you're like, I'm really worried because it says there's so many GFCI outlets missing, I'd be like, okay, that's not a concern.
It's not something to be worried about. Yeah.
But that's not because I'm trying to sell you the house. I'm actually just educating you, like, as a friend, or as your fiduciaries, which is really what you are. You're representing someone's best interest like an attorney. And if I let you skip out on a house because you didn't like the paint color, I wouldn't be doing my job. But I'm never forcing, like, I don't know, you're never selling someone the house like that. You're just representing them in a way where you're looking out for their best interests. You're helping them understand the contracts, maybe understand pros and cons that they might not consider. Hey, I know you're obsessed with this house, but it does back the train tracks. Like, that's going to be a bummer down the road. Or like,
so what's the rule, or what is a way that we can get people to think about this, or they should think about it in different industries? So like, obviously, let's say in wealth management, financial advisory, you're never going to try to sell somebody overtly stocks or something specific. I mean, you can make recommendations, but like,
this is actually another great example. I would say a financial advisor is not selling the thing, they're selling themselves. And that's part of the assumptive close. So my assumptive close in real estate was, you come into my office for an hour meeting when you first meet me, and I illustrate all this value to you for free about what you're going to expect in the home buying process. And here's what contracts look like, and this, that, and whatever. And only at that point would I assume, all right, so obviously we're going to work together now.
Yes.
Similarly with a financial advisor, if they're answering all these questions, okay, I understand you just came into a bunch of inheritance. I understand you. This is what's important to you. This is let's do this. I'm going to send you an engagement letter. You're like an attorney might say.
Yeah.
That's the assumptive close. But they're not going to say, I really think you should buy these bonds instead of these bonds because of this and that, whatever, I
mean, your existent advisor making a suggestion on a life insurance policy.
So for that, yeah, you could use an assumptive close on that. And here's why.
Full circle, call back.
If they've answered enough questions and delivered enough value in the thing they're trying to sell, like a life insurance policy, where they're saying, hey, you're going to basically overfund this policy X amount per month for X amount of years. There's a surrender schedule of 10 years. At that point, when you liquidate this thing, it's completely tax-free dollars. Everything you've told me so far is that you want a long-term investment vehicle, but you are in 10 years, you want to buy a house and you want to see the gains from it and this, that, and whatever. So it checks every box we've talked about. I'm going to send you what you need to sign to do this. That to me would make sense.
So in my experience, I don't disagree with you. In my experience, they would do all those things to establish, by the way, the word expertise is better than proprietary knowledge. They would establish all that expertise, but at the end, I'm not conscious of that profession doing what you just said. I'm going to send, well, I guess maybe I'm going to send you these.
We've gotten them. We've gotten those documents.
Yeah.
Where we've talked extensively about an idea, but we never once said, we are ready to buy now.
Right.
Right. So, and again,
it's like a passive assumptive close to send a document.
Yes, it is. And I don't want any of this to sound like it's manipulative or like, oh, it's sleazy sales stuff, because it's not.
Right.
What it is you're demonstrating value to a point where you're making the consumer feel comfortable, and then you're moving things along. Mm-hmm. If you're waiting for them to move things along, not only will that not happen as frequently, which is bad for your business, but it also will make them feel uncomfortable, and it just won't progress. Yeah. I mean,
that's true.
I have a situation that just happened recently in my life where the person's like, I thought you didn't like want to move forward with this. I'm like, what? Like they are the salesperson, and I was ready to go, and I thought we were locked in. I thought it was already a done deal. And when I followed up months later, like, hey, this is happening, right? They're like, I thought you weren't interested. I made other plans. Like, why would you think I wasn't interested?
What?
Yeah.
They just forgot about it. What about a car? Is that a weird thing?
An assumptive close on the car?
I'm just trying to think about whether like there's anybody out there that's thinking like, this doesn't work in my industry. You don't understand. I can't assumptively close, or the decision is too big, or it's too little, or whatever. You know what I mean? Not just assumptive close, but like leading. I guess
I can't think of an example where it wouldn't apply. I mean, because this is the assumption is that we've established so much of being on the same page, and we've gotten so far along, we've checked all the boxes, that the only next step is to move forward.
Yeah.
If you're going to pump the brakes, think about this. If you're going to pump the brakes, what's the reason? I mean, Jordan Belfort, what's the reason? You don't see enough value, right? Yeah. You don't see the value in it. And in some situations, you just don't have the money, right? Like if I go to a Ferrari dealership and we're talking for an hour, I'm like, this is sick. There's no reason in the world for me not to buy this other than I don't have the money, right?
You think I have $50?
Yeah.
I'm at home on a Tuesday at noon, and I have lawn chairs for furniture.
That's a Friends reference. Maybe they can get that clip up there too.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Well, that's it. That's all we got.
I mean, we could put a bow on it. I mean, the car example. Do you have any other questions?
No, the car.
Okay, then let's do this.
I'm just trying to think of a situation when it would potentially be awkward, but like a car dealer, it's been so long since you've been in a dealership. I mean, I know that you check out Dodge Rams every single day, but that's on the internet. When
they shaved off Dodge in 2009. It's just Ram. It's their own brand now.
Okay, sorry. Ram. I almost bought a Dakota as my first car.
No, but you also bought like a convertible Jetta or something. So
first of all, there's no such thing as a convertible Jetta. And it wasn't even that. It was a Mitsubishi Eclipse GSX. So a car dealer, they actually do say that. They don't even ask, "Are you ready?" I mean, but that's like a stereotypically pushy situation.
Totally,
you don't want it to feel.
I mean, and that goes into what we said at the very beginning of this. Don't push a recommendation before the discovery. And that's really what it is when they go. I mean, oh, you want to test drive it? Here, cool. You ready to go? You're like, that's probably too assumptive. Like, I don't know your budget yet or anything. Like, I don't know anything about anything other than you drove the car. I don't even know if you like the car that you just drove.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, that's the equivalent of saying, does this meet all of your needs? Is this what you're looking for? And does the investment feel comfortable for you? Yeah. Do you ask that? Would you ask that? Because I do ask that.
No, I probably don't ask that because I'm more interested in the value than I am the cost.
When you get all the way towards the end and you say, okay, we've discussed this, you've established you want to do this, here's what it's going to cost, and here's the next steps. You just basically say it that way instead of, is that a comfortable investment?
I would say like, all right, cool. So it'll be 50, like, yeah, I'm making, it's a benefit, right? So it's like, and I don't say it in a sleazy way of like, for only $3,000 a year, but like say, all right, cool. So it's going to start off with $15,000. Here's what that's going to get you. Right. Like $15,000 a year gets you, then you're getting these benefits and whatever. You're just throwing on more value.
But instead of, does that sound good at the end? Are you ready to move forward?
Nope.
It is, here's what's going to happen next. I'm going to send you X, Y, Z. You'll blah, blah, blah.
I need you to do this and this, that, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's all assumptive benefits like what's going to happen. So you'll finish that, and then starting next week, you're going to start seeing X, the value.
All right. I bet we have people watching at this point who have some...
Throw in all the comments or all the questions in the comments. And honestly, if anyone disagrees with any of this or is coming into a hurdle in their own business or a roadblock and they're like, this would never work, role play with me. And I will be you and you'll be your customer. And I guarantee you I'll overcome your objection.
Wow. A guarantee, folks. And also, if you have other things that you think are principles that we missed, that you guys think are, must-dos in the sales process, put them in the comments. We want the comments. And as always, like, subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll see you next week on Who Cares?
Cheers.